So, today we're going to dig into this really groundbreaking study. It's all about a new path to healing some seriously deep trauma by weaving together indigenous wisdom and modern psychedelic therapy.
And really, the best place to start is with these words from Manson of the Snuneymuxw Nation. Her vision is truly the heart of this entire story. She saw the potential in psychedelic medicine, and that spark of an idea led to the incredible partnership we're about to explore.
Now, to really get why this work is so important, you have to understand the history. In Canada, the well-being of Indigenous peoples has been hit incredibly hard by the legacy of colonialism, creating these painful layers of intergenerational trauma. This has led to a crisis that, frankly, demands totally new ways of thinking about healing.
And if you want to see just how serious this crisis is, look at this number. Indigenous people make up about 3.3% of the population in British Columbia, but in 2020, they accounted for a shocking 14.7% of all overdose deaths. That's not just a number on a page. It's a devastating sign of a crisis rooted in generations of trauma.
And when you look at how this affects women, the numbers are even more stark. In BC, Indigenous women are dying from toxic drugs at nearly 10 times the rate of other women. It's a massive, urgent call to action. It shows that the conventional Western systems just haven't been enough. Okay, so in the face of this crisis, something pretty special happened. A unique partnership formed between the Snuneymuxw Nation and a program called Roots to Thrive. And this wasn't just about providing a service. It was about building a whole new way forward, from the ground up, together.
The entire collaboration was guided by this really powerful Snuneymuxw value, not somewhat. It means working together as one mind, one spirit. And that single principle became the bedrock for everything they did, especially for navigating the tricky path of blending two very different ways of seeing the world.
And believe me, this was not a simple task. There were these profound tensions they had to work through. You have the Western worldview, which often focuses on things like intellectual property and individual achievement. And then you have the Indigenous worldview, which is all about things like knowledge stewardship, reciprocity, and a deep sense of community. The whole goal was to create what they called a third space, a new, shared ground where both of these worldviews could not just coexist, but be truly honored. So what did this third space actually look like in practice? Let's take a look inside the pilot program itself. It was an intensive, 12-week healing journey designed specifically for a group of Indigenous participants. Okay, so the program was basically built on three main pillars. First, there were weekly virtual sessions about resilience and mindfulness. Then, they had these very intimate small group meetings for what they called compassionate witnessing, which is really a safe space to share your story and just be heard. And the third piece, the really crucial part, was 3 in-person group ketamine-assisted therapy sessions. This was used to help break up the brain's rigid trauma patterns and open up new possibilities for healing. So, what would bring someone to a program this intense? This quote from one of the participants, it just gets right to the heart of it. It's about this profound burnout, this feeling of just being completely worn down by the constant weight of stress and pain. It's a deep, deep desire for relief, just for a moment to breathe.
But, taking that first step was a huge deal. The participants had some major hurdles to overcome. You have the legacy of colonization, which has taught a deep and, honestly, a very justified lack of trust. There was also a real fear of what might come up, of opening doors to painful memories they tried to keep shut. And for folks in recovery, there was a legitimate concern about whether taking ketamine could jeopardize their sobriety.
But here's the thing. Despite all those very real fears, what happened next was, well, it was incredibly transformative. And the best way to understand it is to hear directly from the people who went through it. This participant really captures that feeling of breaking through to something that felt totally out of reach before. It's like the therapy unlocked a door to places that had been sealed off, allowing for a kind of release they never, ever thought was possible. And listen to this. This speaks to a huge shift in identity. It's about moving past a life that was just about survival. The experience created what this person calls a disconnection to the trauma, and that finally gave them the space to see and connect with who they really are. That is an incredible blessing. This is so crucial. One of the biggest things that happened was the change in trust. A lot of them went in on a leap of faith, what this person calls blind trust. But through the process, that trust was earned. It became an informed trust, something solid, built on the safety and the real healing they experienced.
And in the end, this is what that healing actually looks like in day-to-day life. The trauma that used to literally haunt their nights became just a memory. I mean, think about that. That simple sentence represents a life-altering change. It's just incredible.
So this pilot program was so much more than a success for the individuals who were a part of it. It offered some really vital lessons for the future of healing and for the much broader project of reconciliation. And the participants themselves had some really smart ideas for the path forward. They said, let's deepen the cultural connection by bringing in more elders and Indigenous staff. They suggested ways to build trust right from the start with a better intake process. They also highlighted the importance of choice, like being able to choose an Indigenous-only group. And of course, the big one, getting funding to remove the financial barriers so that this kind of healing can be accessible to everyone who needs it.
And this all points to something much bigger, It's about what true reconciliation actually requires. It means systemic change. It means formalizing these partnerships, paying elders for their wisdom, funding Indigenous-led research, and most of all, committing to the slow, careful work of building real, authentic relationships across cultures.
It feels right to end where we began, with the voice of Emmy Manson. This quote just beautifully connects her own healing to something so much larger. It's not just about her well-being. It's about healing the wounds of her ancestors and creating an entirely new legacy of healing that's going to ripple out for generations. So, all of this leaves us with a really powerful question to sit with. This partnership is proof of what's possible when two worlds come together with respect and a shared purpose. So the question for all of us is, how can we support this weaving of ancient wisdom and modern medicine, not just for one community, but for the collective healing of all of us?